How are you? I'm Chef Jeff Trombetta, and we are going to be making a Pate Sucre, which is basically a sugar paste, sugar dough for a tart. And what we have in here is 6.5 ounces of butter, and we are going to cream. This is the creaming method. In baking, methods are important. Okay, so we're going to cream our butter and sugar. This is 4 ounces of sugar. All right. Confectionery sugar is a little bit better. It's a little bit more stable because it actually has 3 ounces of cornstarch in it, and it's a finer powder. It's a finer milling, so it blends better. But you want to cream this not too fluffy because the fluffier that you cream this, the more cakey and the more air it will have in it. Now this is a previous dough that I had, and I'm going to tell you that this sugar dough does not have any baking powder or anything like that. But if you put some baking powder in there, it basically becomes a cookie dough. And so I had some cookie dough, so that's why this is cracked. But I weighted it down with beans. It's called, hang on, I'm coming. It's called blind baking. So that's parchment paper. That's rice and beans, whatever dried kind of legumes and grains you have. And let's stop for a minute. Let's go to this. Now, this is, so once you cream your sugar and your butter, you can add your eggs a little at a time. And we're going to add a little bit of vanilla bean. So these are the ones, I had these the other day. Alright? I don't want anything stringy in there. Alright? And so let's get this on there. And also that wonderful brandy that we had, that we plumped our vanilla beans in there. So we'll add that. That's beautifully flavored. Now sometimes this breaks, we call it, or curds, because it's hard to blend liquid into butter and sugar. So we can add a little bit of the flour, but there's a reason why you add your flour at the end. And oh, by the way, that's 3 ounces of eggs. Actually, this is a little bit more because 2 large eggs gave me 3.5 ounces. And it's supposed to be, it's not an exact science, but if you shell an egg, it's a large egg, it's supposed to be 2 ounces. So we have everything in there. We should get a little bit of lemon zest too. So these are Meyer lemons, that's why they're a little orangey. And not a lot. This adds like wonderful flavor. It's better than extract. There's actually a lot of alcohol in the zest. Now you can use a microplaner or grate it. Right? So I just zest it and chop it. But don't add the big strands. I mean, they'll break down and you could chew them through a crust. Because this is going to be a crust. But nothing worse than having lemon or orange strands in you know what? I want to add a little bit more vanilla. So we're going to get so that's the inside of the pod of the bean. It's going to be a wonderfully flavored crust. Okay, let's get rid of that. And clean up a little bit. Nice sanitized water. All right, there we go. Now, so back to this crust here, and tell you what we're going to do. We're going to put our cream on. We'll get to that a little bit. So you blind bake. This is called blind bake. But what happens is the outside of the crust gets brown, and the inside underneath this legumes has a little trouble browning, and that's just excess sugar that's on there. No big deal, and that won't hurt anything. And so then you have to pull that off about 2/3 of the way through the cooking, and then you put this in naked without any legume filling, and to brown the bottom, because you want it crusty, you don't want it moist. So it's a little bit hard. It's hard because you want to time it so that the top here can get as brown as possible, so the center can get without burning it, so the center can get brown. So anyway, so let's take and we're going to make a ganache too, and we got a couple things going on here. So this is a pastry cream, and we're going to fill this, and then it's going to have a ganache, which is chocolate and cream essentially, and so let's get that in there. And so this is what they call a pastry knife or a palette knife, and I think we could do it all. That's good. Use it up. All right. And we could always let's turn down our cream. We'll put that over here so you could see it. All right. That's just heavy cream. You could boil cream. It's got about 34 to 40% butterfat content. You can't really boil milk; it'll eventually break. That's why you steep milk. And cream is a wonderful thing. Hey, it's fatty, but and with the vanilla in the crust and the vanilla in this pastry cream, this is going to have amazing flavor. I could still smell the vanilla as I'm spreading this, and it's all locked in there into this cream. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pour some ganache on the top of this. Get that so you can see it. But let's go to this. So I have some ganache made, and so you bring your cream up to a boil, and we're going to add a little bit of triple sec, right? A little bit of orange flavor. You can use vanilla extract. You can use anything you want. You don't even have to use anything. And then we're going to take, this is stainless steel pan. You don't want to rub this in. This is a previously made ganache. I'm actually bringing it back. So pretend it's like chopped chocolate, because you would do the same thing. But this was a little bit thick. And you designate your consistency. So we're increasing the ratio of cream is what we're doing. And you designate your consistency with the amount of cream and chocolate, the ratio. So standard ganache is, let's say, 50%. And make sure this is off the heat. See that? I'm turning the heat off, all right? So you blend that in. You don't want to boil it. You don't want to boil chocolate. Chocolate is very temperamental. It's got a unique, especially good chocolate. This is actually very good chocolate. It's not the best out there, but it's a Belgian chocolate. It's got a melting point of 89.5 degrees. So it's very temperamental, the heat. And so what we do is we blend it in off the heat, and we increased our ratio of cream to this existing ganache, which was about 50-50, 50 chocolate, 50 cream, and so that means that it'll be a little softer with a little bit more cream. So if you're making, let's say, a chocolate truffle, which is made out of ganache, you might even want it a little harder because it's kind of like a candy. So you might want like 60% chocolate, 40% cream. If you're going to make like a filling, maybe a 50-50 or maybe even a 60% cream and a 40% chocolate, because when you cut through that cake, you don't want it to be hard like a rock, and so your layers go sliding all over the place. So you designate the consistency of your ganache. Okay, so that is very smooth. Let's bring that over so you can see it. Okay, that's very smooth. Okay, And of course it's a little bit warm, and that's all you need is that residual heat from the cream to bring it back. Right? So it's all about temperature here. So I have one that was kind of in a water bath, and I'm going to decorate this with the meringue kisses that I actually made. And so we're going to, I gotta use this spatula. Hey, Cora. You know, the dogs, they hear me clanging, knives and stuff like that, and they come over because they think I'm cutting them apples. Okay, so let's get this on here. This is a little cooler for the pastry cream, so I don't want to add the fresh one. But like I was saying before, it's all about consistency, especially with ganache. You want to, here, I'll move this pot in a minute, but I think I'm going to need all this, so let me get it all out of there. And beautiful. Okay. Okay, so we spread that. So that's a layer of chocolate, and want to be neat. So I don't want to expose any white from the pastry cream because that's a surprise, right? All right. You say this is a chocolate ganache pastry cream tart, and then they go in there looking for the pastry cream because they can't see it, and then they get surprised, and it builds a little excitement, and blah blah blah, and you're a hero. Anyway, so get that close up to the edge, and what we're going to do is we're just going to decorate the sides. We could do a lot with this. We could almost find any garnish we want. This is going to harden, and but still be cuttable. You know, cuttable if that's a word. You're going to be able to cut through this ganache with a knife without really butchering your tart, and that's what you want to achieve. You know, you have to think of the application that you have for your ganache. And okay, so that's that. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to put this aside, and we're going to take our meringue kisses. Remember we made meringue not too long ago, and I was piping them out, and this is what we have here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and we're going to top, whoops, you can't see. All right, I'm sorry, I'm a one-man show. And my colleague Rick Orlando, who does daily videos, by the way, they're actually wonderful. He's a great Italian chef. Anyway, he did, you know, he's got a cameraman, and follows him around the kitchen, and he looks great. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these kisses, and I'm coating them with chocolate, trying to expose a little bit of white. And this is a sweet dessert. You got Pate Sucre, which is a sugar dough. Sucre is sugar, and you have meringue, which is you know how much sugar's in there, 2 times the amount of egg whites. And so these are coming nice, and I'm going to show you this in a minute, but I do want to finish this. Oh, you know what? We stopped, we got distracted, and we're going to get this flour in here, and this is going to be complete. This is our Pate Sucre, and I was saying earlier, you don't want to add your flour too quickly or in the beginning. You want to add it kind of in the end, because you don't want to overmix it, because that develops the gluten in the flour. There we go. That baby's done, and it's a difficult dough to work with because it's very soft. But I don't know if I'll have time. I don't want to drag these videos on and on and on and on and on. And I do want to finish this tart. So let's get this out in the middle and do that. And we're going to decorate the top, but not tonight. All right, we're just going to show you how this is. We got to let this set up. The chocolate's got to harden. Just so you know, pastries happen in stages, and you got to be patient when you make pastry. All right. All right. And you gotta be patient because you gotta let the chocolate set, and you gotta. All right. So we're almost there. And these little kisses become markers as to where you're gonna portion this tart. All right. So it's very rich, so a nice thin slice. So I got, let's say we do 16, that's 16 kisses. That would be 16 portions, all right? And I think that's about what we have. So we get one more in there. Right in there. And so what do you have there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Actually, I think I have 17, but that's all right. All right, it's very rich. We'll put that in the fridge, let that set up. Remember, this is a false bottom pan, so you would pick it up and out of there like that. All right, so we'll put that back, and let's see if we have time to. It's very difficult to work with a dough that's right out of the mixer. You should let it rest, and you should let it firm up because it's got butter in it, right? And it's very difficult to work, but we'll give it a whirl. I'll do it in between plastic wrap just to kind of give you a sense. And so what we have is we're going to take our plastic wrap, and this is pre-used wrap. In other words, I rolled out this crust right here actually with this, and so we're going to take this and we're going to do that. And pre-used wrap is actually a godsend. You know why? Because my cling is gone, and there's nothing worse than the plastic wrap clinging to everything you don't want. Because it's a very soft dough and very fresh, I'm going to have to use a little flour, and so I apologize for that, but it's got to be done. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our I think that's enough for, that's a pretty big tart. It's a pretty big tart, and pretty big tart pan, right? This is like a 10-inch tart pan, and so it's going to take a lot of coverage. It's going to take like a good 12, 14 ounces of dough, and so we want to kind of firm it up a little bit with some flour. And so it's a short dough. The American version is short dough. It's a French version, Pate Sucre. It's got little eggs in there. I think that's really the only difference for a little bit more stability. And so let's take our top piece, all right? And you see how this is, if this was clingy, it'd be sticking all over the place, because you want it wide. You want to have room to work. And I could spread it out. And so, see, this roll is very easy. And so back to short dough. You know why they call it shortening? Fat, butter, anything is called shortening. Is because it shortens the gluten strands. It shortens the dough. It shortens the structure of the flour, the protein of the flour, which is the gluten. and the fat goes in between that and it makes it nice and tender. So a lot of doughs are short; they're just not called short dough. And so anyway, you want to roll this as thin as possible. It's going to be difficult to work with because it's so soft. I should let it firm up in the fridge, and I should let it relax the gluten. But it's so short, I don't need to really relax the gluten. It's not going to be that tough. And but you want to be oversized, okay? A little short in some areas. So let's kind of go there, and this will be nice. And the beauty of this dough is I could piece it in by my fingers if it happens to break. All right. So. And rolling is generally between a 1/6 and an 1/8 of an inch. Okay, what does that mean? You don't have to go measure. Okay, a pencil, if you lay a pencil down, it's a 1/4 inch thick, all right? So half the size of a pencil. All right, so that's good enough. So look at this cling wrap. Comes right off. All right. We love plastic wrap in the kitchen. All right, so now, what you want to do here is you want to take this, you want to get your palm underneath, right? And you want to do a quick flip. You got to estimate, and it's okay if it breaks. And it's okay that the flour's on the bottom because that'll just kind of make a crust and burn off. And careful picking it up because, like I said, this is a soft dough. So, so you see that we got a mess, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, so pick it up. This is important. Pick it up. Let it fall down there, right? Let it fall down to the bottom. You don't want it stretching. And get some flour on your fingers. You know, I'm doing this because, you know, ordinarily you got to be patient. But I don't want to stretch this out into 2 videos. So, so there we go. Okay, so now take it and cut it off with your fingers, cut off the excess. You could always pick up these pieces and piece them in. And that's the beauty of a Pate Sucre. Is but you don't want to have anything hanging off the edge here. Why? Because it'll lock. It'll bake down and lock on the edge, and you'll never get this thing out. Right? Especially the Pate Sucre. All right. So let's make sure that, and you don't want big corners, big fat corners. What's a big fat corner? That's down here at the edge. Okay. That the edge is where the dough accumulates. See that's thin there? So we got to do some spot welding. All right. Get some Pate Sucre in there. All right. Now, if this was a little tartlet, I would piece the whole thing in by hand. I wouldn't even roll the dough out. I'd just take a clump of dough and I'd finger it in there. But anyway, so, and you want some stability up top. See how that's thin? So build it up because you want a nice, stable crust. And so, and don't be cheap with the dough. You're going to drive yourself crazy. In other words, don't just try to make it last. You know, use what you think you need. Use over the amount you think you need, and then go from there. And so what you have excess. And if it sticks to your dough, if the dough sticks to your fingers, put some extra flour in your hand. All right. All right. I think we'll push that up. That's enough bottom there. Okay, so let's push it up. Push the bottom corner in and push the top out. Okay, make a nice fine top and a good wall to house your filling. Now this is a tart versus a pie, and what does that mean? It's a European tart is a European thing, and it means that all 3 components are equal. What are the 3 components? The 3 components are the crust. So this crust is equal to the filling. All right. Now, as far as quality and as far as being a component, whereas you take an American pie, and that's the crust is just a placeholder. All right. Now some people like it to hold their fruit or whatever. But, okay. So, we can make this beautiful. And we'll do some more spot welding here. Alright. Because I want to get this, show you this in the oven. And make sure there's no shallow parts. Alright. And so now, you're going to take your excess dough. This is good. You can make a cookie, you know, with this. Although there's no baked chemical leaveners in here. No baking powder, baking soda. And make sure we have nice crust. And so, we're going to, and believe it or not, this is good for another round. What's important here is you get that legumes down at those corners. You know, you heard me mention the corners of the pie, of the tart shell many times. Oh. Yeah, so the crust is an equal component as the filling, and the garnish is equal, the top, whatever you decorate it with. So all three parts in a tart are equal, all right, equal quality. And that's the difference between a pie and a tart, fundamentally. I mean, here's some other little differences. So a tart is really a thing of beauty. I love tarts. Tart's my favorite dessert. You can go all over the place with tarts. I don't even want to begin. But, so push that down into the corner, right? And then you take it and make sure when you put it in the oven, you don't hold it from the bottom because you'll push the crust up. And get it right in there. And then that's it. So, this is not chilled yet because I didn't put it in the fridge. But we would decorate the top with, I don't know, whatever. You could go nuts, you could go powdered sugar. I wouldn't do whipped cream, that's a little overkill. But you can even do some fresh fruit, some nice orange sections. So, pastry cream ganache tart with meringue kisses as a garnish and a Pate Sucre crust. And I'm Jeff Trombetta, and I thank you for watching.